potassium chloride's great, right? It's the dip of my choice now, right? So I've been dipping for flatworms, acro-eating flatworms, and it's pretty great. And I've been pulling out colonies and groups of colonies and dipping them. It's 2 teaspoons per gallon of tank water, and you dip them and you wait 15, 20 minutes, and then you put them back in the tank, right? It's pretty great.
So it never seems to hurt any corals, but it really pisses off hitchhikers.
Yes, and it really pisses off acro-eating flatworms, which is the only one I care about. But it'll
maybe
kill.
Maybe not their little egg sacs.
Not the egg sacs, but the flatworms. So the idea is you dip once a week for 4 weeks or so, and you should get ahead of the flatworms, right?
Yeah.
And I've been dealing with acro-eating flatworms in my tank for a million years, just because you can't ever get all of them unless you pull everything out. Then I saw a video of this guy, I can't remember his name offhand, but he's in Australia. He just dropped his tank level, exposing all the acros, and he sprayed them down with potassium chloride.
Holy cow.
In tank water, potassium chloride, waited 15 minutes, filled it back up. So I was like, I'll start experimenting with this. So I started doing it with small pieces and seeing how it worked. And I was like, wow, this is way better. This is way better, way faster, way easier. I'm not wasting all this tank water. And it seems to be, it keeps the potassium chloride right on the freaking flatworms. And that's great. So someone was here and we were filming, and I was like, I'm going to drop the whole tank. I'm getting, there's the $500 e-flow in my tank is about halfway down, and it's really on the rocks. It's on one of the big rocks. And if you know e-flow, the skeleton is so thick, it's just not coming off, right? And I knew it had flatworms on it. And I went, all right, let's just drop the tank. So we got it all set up. I brought the computer over. I brought the second monitor over so I could watch the sump underneath the house as I pumped the water from the tank down the overflow drain into the sump to make sure I didn't overflow the sump, right? And we're all set up, and I run out and I fill up my spray bottle with RODI water or DI water.
I knew it.
And I add, because that's what you do, right? With a dip, that's right. And so we drop it and I spray it down. I'm like, this is great. In the video, I even say something about how, it's probably, it's interesting because if you do a freshwater dip to acros, that's bad. But this osmotic shock has got to do a double whammy on the acros. So we fill the tank back up, wait 20 minutes, fill the tank back up, spray some stuff off, some flatworms come off. Everything's okay. The next day, there's one of my bonsais has got a white mark on it.
Oh.
Everything was fine. We're thinking, maybe it pooled there and the concentration of KCl was too much, but everything else was fine. So, a couple corals looked a little bit white, looked a little pale, but not a big deal. A week and a half goes by. I drop the tank again. I spray everything down. I spray it again. I'm going to spray it really good.
Yeah.
And as I'm spraying it, I go,
freshwater.
This is fresh water.
Yes. I feel your pain there.
There was no no big deal the first time, but I had really soaked them a lot.
You're like, wait a minute.
And I in my head just went, wait, this is supposed to be tank water. What did you do?
Yeah. Oh,
it was just one of those things where you went, I'm going to dip something. Of course, it's got to be fresh water. When do you ever mix up tank water, right?
I know that I don't think you should feel foolish because, I think I would have done that as well. If I'm mixing something in a spray bottle, I'm starting with RODI, but I'm like, wait a minute, this should be tank water.
Right. So it's not that I feel foolish. It's just the cautionary tale of when you're doing something new, probably a really good idea to actually write everything down and then make sure you're doing it the right way. But everything else was planned. Everything was planned out. It was just one detail that I blew. So when it clicked in my head, I went, that's not right.
Yeah.
I immediately, it was only 3 or 4 minutes. and I I fill the tank up as fast as I can, and I'm like, oh God. And then, everything looks okay, but I'm worried. And then I also remembered that another coral that I had used it on here in the lab didn't look so good after the treatment. And I had figured that it was just, that coral was already stressed and this was extra. I didn't, but it was the fresh water that did it.
But let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Getting potassium chloride in your tank, is that okay? Is there a way to like neutralize it? Is it
Yeah.
okay?
It's just raises your potassium a tiny bit.
Okay.
You could put, I think if I put the entire 2 teaspoons in, it would raise my potassium 5 ppm, which is completely negligible.
I was about to ask, like, I don't want to assume that 5
Yeah.
ppm is okay or
No,
not.
yeah, we talked about this when we started using potassium chloride, and we were using potassium hydroxide to kill as a base to kill stuff in the tank as well. It's the same
Okay.
kind of thing. Just you need a lot of potassium to raise it.
But then my other question is, that potassium chloride,
Yes.
like, so it would get acro eating flatworms to like jump off,
No,
but
it
and
kills
that's
them.
kill. So they're like hardcore. It's a no-go. It'll like kill them easily.
Yeah. Well, in the dip, it seems to stun them. And so in the dip, you base them off in the dip, and then you put the coral back in your tank, right? And
Yeah,
when I've done that, some of those flatworms seem to recover and start moving around again.
that's what I was worried about.
In the uh in the experiments that I've done with the spray, then I put them in another bucket and rinse them off. Um, Only a couple of recognizable flatworms come off. The rest of them are paste.
Yeah.
So that seems better. Um, so the next day, some of the corals are kind of going white.
Oh,
All my tank is like bombing, and now I've just. Ugh!
it sounds like it could be like the worst thing that had happened to your aquarium in a very long time.
In a long time, but it turned out it's not terrible.
They
There's
bounce back.
there was one coral that had about a 5-8 inch piece that I just clipped off because it was clearly dead. I waited a couple days, and when algae starts growing on the skeleton, you toss it, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, it looks like a lot of them just kind of bleached, and they're recovering. And they're recovering slowly. This was about a week and a half ago now. Um, so yeah, so don't do that.
Well,
So
I'll be interested to see when you do it again, but with tank water.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, I'm gonna let the corals probably it'll take about a month for them to get really going again,
Yeah.
and which is an interesting thing on its own to notice. But then I'm gonna drop it again and just do it correctly, because I was like, I'm sick of dealing with flatworms. I'm sick of dealing with it.
Yeah.
And after the first time, I was like, this is great. This is super easy. And then twice, doing it fresh water twice in 2 weeks, is too much.
A
So,
bridge too far.
so yeah, so don't do that. So if you're going to do the spray, which looks super awesome and promising, use tank water. Not, and I even like soak the spray bottle in a tank to bring the temperature up.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Like
I,
temp acclimated
I
the
was
spray
even
bottle.
thinking of that, and turn
Yeah.
off the lights and turn off the fans and, did everything except I just used the wrong water.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this hobby's built on a road of bones, right? We always say that.
Yeah, and it will also fuck you right in the face.
Yeah. And this is also, I guess, another reason why, you would say, somebody who's been involved in this for 40 years made a stupid mistake. Can you imagine the stupid mistakes I would have made if I had only done this,
Oh, Lord, yeah.
So
I mean,
just,
those are potentially the kind of mistakes to a newbie that causes you to leave the hobby.
yeah. So everyone makes mistakes. I love sharing my mistakes, and that was a mistake. But
Yep.
and luckily, it's not the worst thing in the world. And I think almost everything's going to recover. And
Yeah.
some of it doesn't. Some of it, I clip out the pieces, but things don't look dire in there. So
I guess I would say, for my part, listening to that, my thing I would say is, and Lord knows I don't always follow this, but I'm just saying, too, just sort of reminding myself and telling the listener, the watcher, is if you're about to tackle something like that, like you said, like maybe make a outline of what you're gonna do, and that might trigger you to catch something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or just listen to us make mistakes and don't repeat them.
Yeah, don't repeat them. Making the Reef Beef. Making mistakes so you don't have to.
Yes.